Okay, we are live on all of the platforms, sis. We live now. We ready. We ready.
All right. Hello, everyone. You're probably seeing new faces on both of our platforms right now.
Yes, yes.
My name is Candace Miles, but I go by Coach C. I am the founder and CEO and lead coach at No Gap Consulting, where I am on a mission to empower the next generation of women stepping into leadership for the very first time by embracing their identity, stepping into their confidence, and leading on their terms. But I'm not here by myself. I am collaborating with Marshawn. Marshawn, you want to
Yes.
introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks so much, Coach C. Listen, let me just first say for everybody that's coming in, we are on separate platforms, so we're trying to do this all right now. But with that being said, I am Marshawn Olanio, and I'm a shift relationship strategist, and I essentially serve Black professional women because I'm on a mission to decrease the divorce rate by simultaneously increasing the marriage rate by helping Black women, Black professional women to show up with clarity, confidence in their dating life because so many of us didn't get the instructions, we didn't get the rule book, right? We didn't get the playbook when it comes to dating. And a lot of us bumped our heads a time or 50, and none of us had the rule books in order to show up and attract one partner for a lifetime. And so, because I am part of the statistic, part of the divorce rate, if I can help one person, two people, 10 people not go down that road if they're not ready, because there's things that we need to work on, then I have fulfilled my God given purpose. So that's who I am. That's who I'm serving. And we're here to talk about some things this evening. So thank you so much for being here.
All right. So I think we need to loosen up a little bit
What's
here. Let's
up?
loosen up just a little bit for everyone who's joining. I am a leadership coach. Marshawn is a relationship coach, and we are merging the two because the stigma of when, especially when it comes to women of color, particularly Black women, not being able to lead and to find love, we are breaking that, and that is the
Yes.
reason why we are putting together this series. However, this is the first time for us to collaborate, and the first time you have actually seen both of us here. So, Marshawn,
Yes.
this is the leader in me. We going with an icebreaker here.
Okay. All right. All right. All right.
So I'm going to flip the script. Since you the relationship coach, if your leadership style was a song, what would
Mm.
it be?
Currently, if my leadership style was a song, currently I believe it would be Jill Scott's "Living My Life Like It's Golden." Living my life
Okay.
like it's golden. Living my life like it's
Okay.
golden. Yeah, yeah. I am. Listen, this gray is not up here for the play. I am living my life like it's golden for sure. In many aspects, there are some other areas where I want to like show up a little bit better, but overall,
Mhm.
life is golden. Life is golden. So let me flip the script and ask you the same question or a similar question. What about your relationship? So if your relationship was a song, what would your relationship be? Your relationship song be? Mm,
Uh,
good.
I'm going to say, I'm going to take it back to NDRE, Ready for Love.
Mm.
That is my 2025, and I'm in my soft girl era. I taking that hat off.
Mm.
I am
Mm.
definitely in my soft girl era here. So Ready for Love. Look, I can't hold no tune, but y'all know the lyrics.
I am ready for
There you go.
love.
All of it.
Yes.
All of it. All of
Okay.
it. So,
Okay.
all right. So, of course, we are just coming on here really quick to just let you guys know since we are collaborating. We have a series called Power is Powerful at Work, Soft in Love. And we're getting ready to kick off June 26th, this
Yeah.
month. This
Yes.
day is June 1st. Woo, we got here real quick. But we have been working diligently and hard to come up with this series to kick it out, particularly for women of color that are seeking for their identity when it comes to leadership. Because even if you've been in leadership, being a woman of color, particularly a Black woman, in leadership, in corporate, startup, wherever you're at, it's sometimes hard for you to embrace your identity. And when I say your identity, it means your cultural identity, your background, everything, and bringing that forth. However, also too, on the flip side of it, when it comes to love, there are
Mhm.
so many statistics out there. I was actually watching Being Mary Jane. You remember Being Mary Jane?
I do. Yeah.
I don't know why that popped up, and it may be because the iPhones are ear hustling from our conversations. But
Hmm.
it popped up in like the first episode. It showed like a statistics. I think it said like 42% of Black women are never married, and I was
Hmm.
like, "Ooh,
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
wonder like how what does that look like now? And is that statistic still live right here? You would know. That's
Yeah.
definitely something in your territory. Um, but I want to know: are you when it comes to creating shared partnerships?
Hmm.
Um, Are you creating shared partnerships or just doing all the emotional labor?
Oh, do explain that. What do you mean by this?
So, when it comes to shared partner, well, the way that I envision it, since I'm ready for love coming this year, is a shared partnership is we are we are truly partners. If I am strong, if it comes to finances and I'm strong in the finances,
Mm.
but you're not, or you may be strong when it comes to problem solving and I may not, even when it comes to leading, we both may equally be strong leading in certain areas, but we identify that, okay, these are our strengths. Or is it for me, I don't talk about me in the past, some of my this emotional labor, my grandma used to say this all the time, and I didn't understand it till I got older, which
Mhm.
was no offense if we got guys listening, but why am I always dating these boys? Why am I always taking
Mhm.
care of them? And I
Mhm.
didn't really understand it until I realized that there was so much stuff that I was giving into it where I was emotionally drained and I wasn't really receiving it. So, and
Yeah.
essentially, like I was putting myself into this kind of motherly role to like carry all the, okay, I got it. I got it.
Mhm.
I got
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
And it wasn't necessarily a partnership. So that's what I mean by that question.
Okay. So I'm gonna answer it previously and now. So previously, when I was much younger, 20s, in my 20s, I found myself people pleasing my partners to make sure that they wouldn't leave me. So I recognized that I suffered from the anxious attachment style. And I highly recommend, if you don't know what your attachment style is, that you find out what it is, because this is showing you how you attach to your partner later on. And there are a few, and some of them are a combination. But the point is, as I was dating, I was like, you know what? I don't want him to leave anyway. I don't want him to leave. Even when it was something simple like him wanting to go out and just be with his friends,
Mhm.
I didn't want him to do any of that. And it wasn't because I thought he was cheating or anything like that. It was just I thought that if I wasn't in his space all the time or the majority of the time, that
Mhm.
he ain't gonna want me no more. Or because I also suffered from low self esteem because I have chocolate beautiful skin. Now I can say that. Before I can say that. So chocolate beautiful skin. I got teased about my chocolate beautiful skin when I was much younger in life, and me having low self esteem, me having anxiety behind all of that. I was kind of like putting my claws in the guy, um, because I didn't want him to leave. And the very thing that I was doing was the very thing that he was doing eventually, which was leaving, because I didn't
Mhm.
realize I was smothering him. I didn't realize that he needed some me time. He needed some time apart to do his own thing. So back in the day, it wasn't an equal anything. It was me trying to hold on and to keep. so I wouldn't be abandoned. So he wouldn't choose somebody else. He would see how great I was by me performing, right? Instead of me actually trying to connect with him, I found myself performing to try to keep him, like purchasing gifts. Why? Why was I purchasing gifts?
Mm-hmm.
So, but now that I've done my work on myself, I've done a lot of inner work to accept my beautiful dark lit chocolate skin. I've done a lot of work not to show up in an anxious attachment style because I've done my inner work. I show up completely different. It is more of a partnership where we have the conversations that actually matter when the real relationship takes off. Because so many of us have been conditioned to fall into the honeymoon phase and not to really go any deeper. Like how you go, what you gonna do to keep them? You know, you doing all of this, you rolling around in the bedroom, whatever it is, whatever the topic of discussion is to try to keep him, excuse me, to get him, but it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't talking about the real relationship, the deeper things like how do you handle conflict? How much, what is their communication style? Do they shut down? Like all of the things that come into play. So I know that was a long answer, but it I'm completely different than I 20 something year old Marshawn is completely different from 48-year-old Marshawn. I'm 48. I don't have no problem saying my age. So completely different. I show up differently. I know that it's more about a partnership communication. We hear it all the time. It really is the biggest thing. So with that being
Yeah.
said, it's a partnership. Um, so I'm gonna flip the same question to you. How are you showing up?
Oh, cha, cha. I mean, right now in this state, I am managing and leading everything because I'm here by
Mhm,
myself,
mhm,
So
mhm,
I'm doing that. However, what I have noticed, what I am also to doing is I am allowing and empowering others. It may not be in a romantic sense right now because
mhm,
I know that that's coming. However, it's more so in the sense of, okay, I know that this is your strength. Let me delegate this to you. I
mhm,
know that this is my friend's strength. Girl, let me call you up and
mhm,
ask you some advice, some sound advice, because I don't know everything.
mhm.
And so, right now in this state, I would say it's a mixture of both. Now, if you would have asked me when I was in my 20s,
Okay, okay.
look, because we know black don't crack. But if you would ask me when I was in my 20s, now I was, like I said, I was doing everything. Even when you were talking, it made me think about when you said like grasping on for so, like you wanted him to just, you just grasping onto it. It reminded me of when I was in this abusive relationship, and I don't know why I just had that thought of the one time where we had got into it and he left, and I really felt like I was losing it.
Mm,
And I just was like, oh my God, and kept calling and blowing up his phone and doing this and that. It was just this toxic cycle that I had got myself into. But it was that fear of, dang, if I don't get this, like, I need him to come back so we can
mm,
fix whatever just
mhm,
happened.
mhm,
When
mhm.
in reality, like, it was showing me like I didn't understand my self-worth at the time. My self-esteem was low because that's all really honestly, like, in that relationship, that was my first real adult relationship.
Okay. Mhm.
So me sitting here thinking like, oh, this man gonna leave, especially because I desire to be
Yep.
married one day.
Yep. Yep.
So all of that, when it came to that domestic violence relationship, it just really, you hit a chord when you said that about that anxious tactic where you,
Yeah.
like, you get anxious, like, I don't want you to leave because now I'm
Mhm,
gonna be by myself. Now I'm gonna be
mhm,
forced to be by myself.
mhm.
And so in that sense, I definitely was managing everything. A
Yeah.
lot. A
Yeah.
whole lot of everything. Now, I know we've been talking about, like, when it comes to leadership and when it comes to relationships, I think this question, it really gears off to what I just said. Like, are you leading, are you managing everything
Mm,
alone?
mhm, mhm, mhm.
In relationships that look like I said before, are you creating a shared partnership or are you doing the emotional labor? It's hand in hand. it
Mm-hmm.
coincides. Like whatever you're doing in personally in your life, that's also to the way it shows up at work. It just shows a little, it
Yeah.
just shows up differently. And
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
why I think that this series is going to be so important, especially for those who are desiring love, but also to looking into getting into leadership or already in leadership, trying to gain their identity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, well, let me ask you this, because we know that a lot of professional Black women, specifically, they're in their masculine, if you will, specifically in these positions of power in their career,
Mm-hmm.
and they show up in their leading, they show up in where they coming up with goals and meeting and or exceeding those things, and they are doing all of these things that we would, in the relationship, it would come off as being more masculine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're speaking to your clients, how do you, or what do you tell them? Let me say that. What do you tell them when it comes to them being able to release that masculine?
Elaborate just a little bit for me. Look, let me get my water. I feel like I'm gonna
Yeah.
have.
Okay. Okay. So we have heard plenty of times how men are saying that we are too strong, or
Mm,
we are, not being submissive enough, not
mm-hmm.
realizing that it's multifaceted in why that's happening, right? So when you are
Mm-hmm.
coaching someone in leadership, do you even have that conversation? Because I know yours is on the opposite end of the spectrum, meaning at work they have to have these things.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever talk about it from a relationship standpoint? Like, are you doing the same thing? Are you leading the same way here as you're leading at home?
So I've have conversations where it if you when you in leadership, if you are everything, you wear from a leadership hat to a therapist to I'm
Mm,
now your coach, your
okay.
mentor. Like you wear so many hats when it comes to it. Now, as far as like releasing that portion of it, that's something I in leadership when I have like my actual people team that I'm leading, we don't really touch on that piece of it.
Mhm, mhm.
Unless I have like that relationship where it's okay for us to talk about
Okay.
that.
Hmm. Hmm.
However, like when it comes to from a coaching standpoint, when they come and they retain me, then yeah, we'll talk where now I'm gearing more towards your yes, you have to turn on your masculine because you're turning on your masculine because in the sense of I have to work twice as hard.
Mm.
How do
Mhm.
we and I shift that mindset to say you don't have to work twice as hard because we already know that when it comes to Black women in general, we're the most educated, but we're not getting in the spaces. So now, how do we involve the strategy to get into these positions, get into these rooms where these decision makers are? And sometimes we don't have to be in the room where decision makers are. We are the decision maker.
Mm.
And so coming into that space, like I'm flipping that script to be like, you don't necessarily have to all the time be masculine. You can still show up in your feminine energy and still get the same results. And so I've been changing where that all goes back to you embracing your identity. I'm tying it all the way back because most of the time when I'm talking to the ones that just got into leadership, they feel like, oh, I've seen this is what a leader looks like. I got to mold into it. I was a person like that. Like this is
Mhm.
what a leader looks like. I got to mold into it. However, as I started understanding my own identity, doing the work externally, I now understood that you know what, I'm gonna show up this way. This is who I am, and I'm going to earn the respect my way on my
Mm.
terms.
Mm. Mm.
And so well, I don't know, maybe you have seen, but when you come in, I'm joking with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other people, I'm like, if we got to get stuff done, I'm like, boom, 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 let's get it done. But it's because I'm so comfortable with who I am in this stage in life
Makes
that
sense.
I understand who I am.
Mhm.
And so my values, I stand on that. My integrity when it comes to what I believe in, what I don't believe in, and I'm okay if whether or not people like me or they don't like me. I'm not for
Mhm.
everyone. And once you get out of that space, you'll understand I don't have to always be rah 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 in this masculine energy. I can simply just show up silently with my presence, and that speaks
Yeah.
volumes.
Mhm. Yeah, I love it. Thank you. Yeah.
You know, but for you, like when it comes to the women, like your people, how are you coaching them? Cause look, I want to know. I want to know.
um,
Okay.
so, so yes, of course, on the relationship end, we go into speaking about what they do in their career and how they are showing up as a leader, and
Mm-hmm.
getting them to understand that the leadership skills or the skill sets, period, that they have attained to get into their career will not get them to where they want to be in their relationship, because there has to be masculine and feminine energy in any relationship. I
Mm-hmm.
specifically talk about romantic relationships, but any of the relationships, there has to be masculine and feminine energy in order to get everything to run as smoothly as possible. What got you in your career is not going to get the man, I should say, keep the man, because it's going to be like two men in the relationship, two masculine energies in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Have to be able to take off said hat of masculinity and just, as you mentioned before, just showing up, being present, understanding that taking off that hat, showcasing some of that vulnerability, allowing them to see that softer side of you is where the connection piece actually happens. It doesn't happen when you're competing with him, whether it's conscious or not, whether subconscious or conscious, that you're actually doing it where maybe you're out on a date and you're having a conversation with him, and he's talking about he may be going down a rabbit hole and making it centered on him. So I'll acknowledge that. But maybe he's saying, like, I have this, I have that, I have this, I have that. He's leading with his financial standpoint, right? But instead of you kind of, allowing him to speak, maybe ask some follow-up questions, you're like, well, I got that too. Like, you're not saying that you're not impressed,
Mm-hmm.
but your whole energy is saying you're not impressed. Oh, you
Mm-hmm.
got that, I got that too. You got that, you got a nice luxury car. Well, I got two luxury cars. Oh, you got two
Mm-hmm.
houses. Well, I got a house here and a house in the Hamptons, or whatever the thing is. So
Yeah.
instead of it being connection between the two of you, now you're competing with one another. So
Yeah.
you have to be able to relinquish some of those masculine skill sets, specifically in your relationship.
Yeah. It's so crazy you say that because like I said, since we've been talking, it's definitely had me thinking about previous relationships and everything. And I remember one guy I was dating at the time, and he used to say that he felt that he was in competition with me. And I didn't
Mm.
really understand
Mm.
like what that meant. Cause I'm like, what you mean? You and like he literally said, like, I feel like you're competing with me. What
Mm.
does that mean? But I didn't have one, I wasn't self-aware,
Okay. Okay.
when it came to that. I also too wasn't emotionally like my emotional intelligence wasn't there at that point either. Because I became on defensive mode. I'm like, what you mean? Like,
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
what do you
Mhm.
mean we're competing? However, as like time went on, because like with him and I, we were able to like be cordial with each other to the point of, okay, there's no ill will, it just didn't work out. We two
Mhm.
grown people understanding that it just didn't work out.
Okay.
But
Okay.
also too in the sense of, hey, I can talk to you and you can talk to me. Hey, this is what I noticed that I did.
Yeah.
How did that feel in that moment with you? And
Mhm.
vice versa, and then move on and take it as, hey, this was a learning lesson. And I was actually able to learn and to now go into the next relationship after that to be like, nah, I know what this looks like. And I know how to now like to change that and control that. But it's interesting that that's something that you talk about because I feel like when you get into leadership, you're trying to juggle two identities.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
And you don't necessarily need to juggle two identities. You need to show up as your authentic self
Yeah.
in both.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you can get to that point, and everyone has to get to that stage in life where you're like, you know what, this is just who I am. And not in that, not who I am, like stuck in your ways. Like, let me be
Mhm.
clear on that.
Mhm.
Not stuck in your ways. That's just who I am. You know how people always want to do. Well, you just gonna deal with, take me for who I am. No,
Mhm.
if you out
Mhm.
here cursing people out left and right, being mean to people left and right,
Yeah.
no, that's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get it. However, what I mean by that is that you can't battle two different identities, because you're always going to be constantly trying to prove, you're going to be constantly being this imposter,
Mhm.
showing up at work, in your relationship, in your friendships, when all you want to do, if you want to attract it, to keep either one of them, is to show up as your true self, because there's nobody else that can do it like you.
Yeah.
There's nobody else that can be like you, when it comes to that. And so I think we could go on and on and
Yeah.
on about that. However, I do want to take this time to be like, to let you all know that this is what type of dynamic that you are going to get whenever you get into the series. Like, this is the reason why we decided to put this together. We've strategically and intentionally have taken some time to really do our research, but also to take our lived experiences to merge into this new series that we're doing, which is why we call it Powerful at Work, Soft in Love, because we believe that this is the year for both to coexist, particularly
Mm.
for you, girl.
Mhm.
Sis, I am talking to you, because, like Marshawn said, it's about changing that percentage, starting to see it change. We
Mhm.
see that I know I've seen it where it says, like, when men get married, everything goes up.
Mhm.
Don't
Mhm.
think it's just about the man,
Mhm.
it's also about us. And we
Yeah.
know, like, we are deserving, but we have to believe that we're deserving of that.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, again, that's Marshawn, is there something that you want to tell people what they can expect for signing
Yeah,
up?
absolutely. Listen, I want to tell them a couple things. The first thing is this really is a new concept and idea. There are no leadership and relationship events that are coexisting specifically here in San Diego, but I would venture to even say anywhere that I've looked. I have not seen both of them together where you have a leadership coach who understands leadership, specifically Black women, and a Black relationship coach that specifically we both help Black women to exceed, to come together and to be able to to come together and to be able to rewrite the narrative. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to help you to understand that we're not trying to tell you to dumb down your power or release it, relinquish it completely. That is not what we're trying to tell you to
No.
do. We're just trying to help you to be able to understand when to use it and when to allow yourself to lose it so you can lean into your softness so he can take the lead. So as Candace mentioned and I mentioned before, you're not in there two masculine energies and then trying to figure out how come we're not connecting, how come we're not seeing eye to eye. So we're trying to get you to shift and to lean into your softer side
Mm-hmm.
at home. When you need to do what you need to do at work, do what you need to do. Go in there and kill the boardroom. Go in there and delegate and do all of the things. But at home, I was actually talking to one of my clients, and at home, he specifically said that him and his wife, there is a COO and a CEO, right?
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, one of them takes care of the finances, and the other takes care of pretty much everything else. So if it's not a financial issue, he ain't got nothing to do with that because he's the financial person. He ain't got nothing to do with that if it's not financial. If it's something about the household, the kids, what we need to do to make things flow, that's all her area. So figuring out where you lead in your relationship is only going to help, not
Mm-hmm.
thinking that you have to control the entire relationship.
Yeah.
So when you sign up for Powerful at Work, Soft and Love, it's live right here in San Diego beginning June 26th. So we
Mm-hmm.
got a couple more weeks. And we have the link here? Do we have the link here, Candace? Yes, we'll put the link here and I'll just say it right here. It's bit.ly / powerful and love. And we'll type it down here in the comments in a moment, in the comment section in a moment, because being able to understand who you are, your right, your identity and leadership, as well as your identity in your relationship, understanding that if you don't have your relationship with you together first, it does not matter. And it's not just romantic relationships. It does not matter. Most of your relationships are not going to be in harmony, and you're going to be feeling frustrated and overwhelmed because you don't have this relationship, the relationship with yourself, in alignment. So we want to help you to get your relationship with yourself in alignment, not only in your romantic relationship, or excuse me, the relationship with yourself that's going to bleed into your romantic relationship, but also the relationship that you have with yourself as a leader.
Mm-hmm. So y'all heard this first. At the end of 25, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, y'all, I'm in a relationship, y'all."
2025, we are rewriting
No,
this new dynamic. We are
we
writing a new
are.
narrative, honey. And
We
we are here
are.
for us. We are here for us.
We are. We definitely are. Like Marshawn said, and I'll end this out here. When she sat there and said, when you get into the boardroom, if you shrink and you settle at work in your leadership role, you will sink and you'll settle in your relationship as well. And so that's something that it's yes, there are two different parts that you show up in. However, it all starts with this person right here. So we will be back in 2 weeks for more questions. If you have any questions, if there are certain things that you would like us to discuss now that we are collaborating together, don't hesitate to drop to either DM us, drop us a comment on our platforms, and we'll definitely share it with each other. But outside of that, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Sunday wherever you are tuning in from, and get ready for tomorrow. It is June 2nd. But outside of that, y'all have a great evening.
That's it. Have a great evening. Thanks so much for
All
stopping
right.
in. Hashtag replay if you're watching this later. All right. Bye now.
Bye.